go to get your presentation stuff up and going, I'll probably just be over there to turn my phone off. So our system's a little.
So do you, the one page thing with the recommendations, did it make, everything make sense? Okay.
I don't know how helpful that's gonna be, but not. Um, Hello? We have sound, so.
Indeed. It is 6 p.m. and time to call the November 3rd meeting of the City Council of Lyons to order. Please join me in rising for the invocation. Oh, actually, I lied. Disregard. Man, I know this. Can I have a roll call, please? Let's start there. Debbie Metzger. Mary Kendrick. Jim Cedino. Cecil Burdett. Angela Evans. Rick Miller. Sheila Spillman. Madam Mayor, you have a quorum. Thank you. It's Cecil's fault. He got me all riled up for the invocation. Anyway, please rise and join me in the invocation led by Pastor Chris Deeds from the Methodist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would you join me in prayer? Gracious and loving God, we gather today seeking wisdom, understanding, and unity. Bless this council and all who serve our community and guide their discussions and decisions that they may promote fairness, justice, and the common good. Grant patience where there is disagreement and courage to act with integrity and compassion. Bless our city, its people, its leaders, and its future. May all that is done here today bring peace, prosperity, and hope to those we serve. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Chris. Good. All right, we are ready to move on to the approval of agenda. Council, I do need to make a few adjustments to the agenda. We need to add, let's go ahead and do it before item A. Two items. I need to add a planning commission appointment, and let's do that as the new item A. And then I need to do we need to add the resolution number 955, the designated signatories. So that can be item B, and then we can adjust below. Is that reasonable? And then I don't believe that there are any other amendments to the agenda. I would entertain a motion. I have a motion by Sheila Spielman with a second by Rick Miller to approve the agenda as corrected. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Motion carries. Moving on to mayor's comments, I just have one. I know council, I had discussed that I would have an appointee for the empty council position at today's meeting. I do have an appointee I believe to be an excellent candidate. There were a few questions that needed to be answered, so I'm going to ask for your indulgence, and I will definitely have that person ready for the next council meeting. I think that is it. We have quite a meeting ahead of us, so we'll move right on to council member comments. Debbie, let's start with you.
So we do have a process in regards to having the approval of the travel, and with that, we know what those expenses are going to be. So that's just a reimbursement. For the example of what we saw here was for the hotel for the conference. That was my reimbursement for myself. Yes.
Well, the reason I'm asking is, you can typically just put on your credit card, and it's kind of that checks and balances. And I didn't know if there was an actual procedure that went along with that, or...
So in this particular case, city credit card was used for the deposit, but when I called in my reservation, they used my credit card for incidentals, so they used my credit card and charged it to my credit card.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, I can't find any sort of table, pay schedule on what people start at and where they can end at. There's different positions, and the reason I bring that up is because I think it would help, especially the younger people that come to work for the city.
Mhm.
They start out at, I don't know, $12 an hour, but they know if they work and they learn, they can make this much. I think that would make a big difference in keeping people and giving them the incentive to work.
Well,
That's my idea.
I can jump right in and answer that. I believe, Debbie, that there is an employee pay range document that we should be able to get and send to the council that we can get access to. It's not necessarily a scale, but it's a range for each department and the specific jobs within that department. So what it shows is what your starting wage would be, or, what the range is that you would work within, so you could see how high you could earn within that position and what your starting wage would be.
That would be good, and it would be good to have that as public knowledge.
Yep, yep, and it is a public document. So, is that something, you could get to the council? Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mary.
No, there's not. State right now is $67 per day, but, that's the only thing, because I actually just looked that up, so.
I have two things tonight. Number one, I've noticed that this concrete patch across the street is starting to sink more, especially when I drive over it. It seems like it's starting to fall in a little bit, it's cracking some more, and it's just gonna get worse this winter, so we need to really keep an eye on that. Number two is, where are we at with the fire-damaged house on East Lyon?
I haven't heard from the insurance company yet, so I think we're waiting for a little bit more direction from them.
Well, all right, it's in my ward, and I don't like that, so it makes me look bad, it makes the city look bad, so.
I don't have my microphone. Steve and I talked, and I believe Steve was able to file, he has filed at the courthouse a claim, a lien against that. Obviously, what we'd rather have is them to take care of business. But if there's insurance, we've tried to do what we can do to protect ourselves. Thank you.
I don't want to have kind of a concern about, it seems like we have a lot of ordinances that are carried out. Whether it be leaf trucks or whatever. I think we have a ordinance that should be carried out. So that I can
I've got a couple real quick ones. I want to thank Chief Holliday and Lyons PD and Inspector Steve for today, for taking care of a eyesore we had over on East Avenue North, where somebody had a semi up there and he'd been using it, and he brought it back into town on a flatbed trailer and it was burned up. And they decided to drop it on the street. And those guys went ahead and tagged it, and they got it removed today. I really appreciate that. And getting the rest of the equipment moved out of there too. That's really helpful, and it makes it a lot nicer. Second thing real quick, I don't know if there's a grant available for us to put a marquee type item or I don't want to say display or something where we can get on there and find out what events are in this town going on. That is one of the problems I think we have here, where we could have some type of a marquee. I talked to Abby out at Celebration Center. They're getting ready to do theirs, redo theirs, because it's 25 years old. But if we've got some type of a grant where we could put it Main and Grand, wherever, and it can be controlled preferably by the city, to list what's going on, and people coming into our community can see that, hey, we're going to have this going on this day or something. I don't know if there's that type of grant available, but it'd be something nice to have. Thanks.
I'd like to make a comment, Mr. President. The Methodist Church has approved to let you have a part of this parking lot over there for a smart city of that class. And it's a couple years now, we've approved that. So, my idea was that maybe Timmy night and whatever could be helped, could be used for it. And it would be perfectly easy to be operated as a library. That is,
I just wanted to ask about the hours at the pop-up facility. So it's just getting dark at 6 o'clock. In the past, we changed.
Yeah, so we recently changed the hours and we put it on Facebook, but I was actually going to post again this week already. So there'll be a reminder going out that this is the last month for it too. I'll update the website too.
Awesome, thank you. All right, we are ready for city administrators' comments.
I really don't have any other comments. I think I provided a list for you all to take a look at. And if there's any other questions you have, let me know, or you can feel free to reach out to me.
I just want to quickly comment on that. Troy, I would just say thank you for that. I know that's something that Sheila in particular had been asking and said that that's something she'd like to see happen. So really appreciate this list for us on the agenda. All right, we are ready for public comments. Public comments are welcome at this time. Citizens will be limited to a 3-minute time limit, and comments will only be accepted after providing the city clerk with your name, address, and phone number so you can be contacted if there are any questions. The city council may or may not choose to comment on any citizen's comment, and generally no action will be taken at this meeting. Are there any community members that would like to speak at this time?
My name is Brooks Clark. I'm 420 West Main. You can hit me up at 785-766-2732. I just want to bring up a few questions and concerns I have about the sewage plant. I'm under the understanding that Nathaniel told us that there was no way we would fix that thing without him. Is that true? I mean, if that's true, and we're now off state mandates without him, why are we still paying him $2.2 million and we haven't even broke ground? I mean, in my opinion, that's ridiculous. I think he misled us and put us on the hook. I mean, some of y'all won't be here in 30 years, but I will be, and my kids will be. And so we'll be still paying Nathaniel and his family and his people over some things that I don't think is true. And I think you guys need to look deeper into it, because I know some of y'all don't even go out to the plant. I've been out to the plant. I've talked to the plant members, and some of y'all haven't. They've told me that some of y'all don't even go out there and know anything about what's going on. About 5 or 6 years ago, I know you were on the board, and they came to you and told you they could fix it for less than $20,000. Now we're on the hook for $2.2 million. It's just concerning, and I think you guys need to look into it again before it finishes. So, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you for your comments, Brooks. Any other community members would like an opportunity to speak at this time? All right, seeing none, we are ready to move on to consent agenda. I know that there are a couple council members who found some corrections that need to be made to the minutes. I'll let you speak to that. there any further corrections that need to be made to the minutes? And just real quick before we go on, Sheila, you have a delightfully peaceful voice, and so I would just ask that you move the mic closer to your mouth so that our citizens who are viewing from home can hear you when you speak. Seeing no other, any other, oh, yes, sir, go ahead.
I'll have to follow up with Matt. I don't know off the top of my head.
And then, the MKC, shouldn't that be prorated by our fuel now?
Correct. Yes.
And so gas is $42.40. No, total. Diesel fuel is $2,700.
So we're buying in bulk. So that's filling up our 500-gallon tanks, and we also have a tank down at the wastewater treatment plant that also got filled as well. Yes. Yeah.
Council, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as corrected.
I move to approve the consent agenda as corrected.
I have a motion by Angela Evans with a second by Sheila Spielman to approve the consent agenda as corrected. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Motion carries. All right, we are ready to move on to item 4, business items to consider. And just as a reminder, we did add the 2 items to the beginning. So starting with the Planning Commission appointment. I'll take that one. So tonight I have an appointee that I'm very delighted to bring to you. I apologize, council. I'm just learning as far as this part of the process goes. So next time I'll make sure that I have something in your hands that you can look at. But this evening I'm delighted to appoint Cassie Taylor for your approval. Cassie is not in attendance this evening, but she has been actively involved in community kind of growth and development. She has worked for a wireless company called Idea Tech, and is very interested in seeing some different wireless options come to our community. She also is actively involved with the Celebrate Recovery that just started in the last year in our community. So a lot of community involvement from her. She has children in the school as well, and was really interested in what was happening on the Planning Commission, and would like to put her name forth for your approval for the Planning Commission. So if you have any questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we appoint Cassie Taylor to the Planning Commission.
I have a motion by Angela Evans with a second by Sheila Spielman to appoint Cassie Taylor to the Lyons Planning Commission. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Motion carries. All right, moving on to the resolution number 955, the designated signatories. And Troy or Bailey, did you want to give some explanation on this?
So this is an update for our access to our bank. We were updating because we've changed over some of our employees, and so this is the newest and updated version of that. Yes, once I get the new president, that will fill in that spot, yes.
I apologize, Sheila. There was something I forgot to add to the agenda, and that's it. So it looks like we'll need to do that at our next meeting. So that was my fault. But yes, we would have to add that person after they're elected by the council.
I move to approve Resolution 955, updating the bank signatories due to staff turnover.
I have a motion by Angela Evans with a second by Cecil Burdette to approve Resolution 955 with the signatory card because of staff turnover. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Motion carries. All right, we are ready for item 4C, KCCMB license renewal.
This is a routine item to have Casey's renewal of their CMB license. It's pretty routine every year.
I have a motion by Rick Miller with a second by Mary Kendrick to approve KCCMB license renewal as presented. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you, council. Motion carries. Oh, our apologies. All opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Motion carries. All right, we are ready for item 4D, the progress update on the operational drug and alcohol policy.
A few months back, we talked a little bit about this. And now that we have some staff here working on this project, Elizabeth and Josie are going to lead us through this discussion.
Thank you. So, yeah, we're here to discuss the drug and alcohol policy. When I first started, Troy had me start a review of it to see what we were doing, if it was up to what we should be doing, if we were doing it right. And then when Josie joined, she joined me in this review of the policy. So you all have some slides in your packet, and we're just kind of giving you a high-level overview of issues that we found so far, and kind of where we're proposing to go next. And give it with your input, we'll bring back a fully fledged out operational policy for you. So we started conducting a review of the policy, specifically kind of focusing on the cost and cadence of the random drug testing and alcohol testing. We just didn't really have great records of what was happening. And so currently, our operational policy is testing folks more than what is like legally needed. That's not really a huge concern. The more big concern that we found was that the list of people who are being drug tested under DOT regulations has not been updated. And so there's kind of this jumbled mess of people who like used to need to be tested under DOT and now they don't because they switched jobs. So the covered employee list is what we're referring to the DOT employees as, hasn't been regularly updated. We also didn't have a list of like what staff positions were covered. And so we just uncovered some issues. And so this is presenting some misalignment with our personnel policy. Our personnel policy is pretty vague, and then this operational policy we have is like way, way, way specific. And operationally, we were meeting the personnel policy, but the operational policy is where we found some issues. And so I'm going to turn it over to Josie to talk a little bit more in depth about the DOT screening that we're doing, and where we're proposing to go next.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Josie Dolans. I'm the new Human Resources Director, so just to introduce myself to those that I haven't met yet. Just to kind of walk this back a little bit, it is the intention of the city to align with the Department of Transportation and their expectations for us. We want to be within compliance. Right now, our covered employees represent a fraction of the staff. Currently, we're testing 50% of the employees on staff, which is in excess of what we should be doing. We need to be refining our random testing to those who have CDLs, the commercial driver's licenses. We want those people who are operating machinery for the city. We need them to be tested. We need to make sure that they are within compliance. And we also need to have the people who are dealing specifically with the gas line, anybody who's reading meters, who's answering questions about those accounts. We need to hold those people accountable. And right now, we need to be managing that list a little bit more closely. So also, we need to have our public-facing employees, such as police officers, subject to random testing. I don't believe that has been as tightly regulated as it needs to be. So that we are within compliance on the next slide. 50% of those covered employees need to be subject to the random testing. Any of the testing that we have for anyone that we have suspicion of being in active use, that testing is going to be in concert with the Department of Transportation expectations. So none of that will be changing or under evaluation moving forward. It's going to be in alignment. But so far, this is just the regulations for the random screenings. Is there any questions so far? If the office personnel has any sort of, like if they're holding a CDL, if they have to operate machinery, if they have to engage with the gas line specifically, but outside of just regular admin, there's no need for them to be tested. However, where this can be brought into consideration is anyone who is a new hire, subject to new hire testing. If that be the will of the council, to have all new hires go through this random testing, what that does is that puts them in a pool for later consideration. So that would have to be a policy issue that we address.
Do we have any people, oh, go ahead.
Does this include,
I'm not sure about the volunteer. I feel like if it would just be for.
They have not been in the past, and that's a really good question, because they do drive, and actually they're coming in from their own personal time. You bring up a really good situation, Cecil. You just made it more complicated.
Definitely something to consider.
Okay. Usually, whenever anyone has an accident, and it wouldn't matter whether it's an office person or someone out in the field, they need to be drug tested.
Correct.
Is that in your policy? Is this?
Yes. That's going to be under the suspicion or any accident. That's going to be the automatic process. For alcohol testing, it would be within 2 to 8 hours after the initial incident. You have 32 hours to respond to if there's an accident, suspicion of substance abuse, then it would be 32 hours.
Okay, thank you.
How many public works employees have anything to do with the gas line anymore? Are they physically turning meters off or turning gas leaks off, or is that all up to Black Hills Energy now?
We still have staff that's involved with gas, and they are at times turning gas on outside the house, not inside the house, as well as turning it off. So they also have opportunities to work on gas leaks and different other areas where we've had some emergencies with gas. So we do have staff that we're relying on to have those skills and to be able to be in this pool.
I just have one question, ladies. Is there any, or had you looked into is there any like dissonance between what the Department of Transportation expectations are and what our insurance would require? I mean, have you checked into that where we might need to have more vigorous than what the Department of Transportation is asking for so that we can maintain, a lower insurance rate?
I have not reviewed the insurance policy, so that's something we can continue to develop as we also look into volunteer firefighting.
Sounds great. Sounds like you've done a lot of work. We really appreciate that, and we appreciate the update and look forward to what you bring to us next.
Perfect, thank you.
Just really quickly, when I met with our insurance folks last year, we did not cover any of those extra items in regards to alcohol and drug testing. We should be having our insurance review in the next month or so I think that's something we can bring up and look at that, see what our insurance covers. Yep.
All right, Council, we are ready to move on to item 4E, a proposal for beautification grant for parking lot line painting.
Thank you, and here again. So this proposal comes with a little bit of background. So in the past, the city has responded to requests to paint lines in parking lots. We've done it for the schools and just kind of like a handshake deal. We've done it for, I know, a couple churches in the past. But those requests are kind of starting to ramp up. And so to make sure that we keep things kind of equal and that we're not just kind of just doing it willy-nilly. We are proposing this grant system where organization could apply. It could be a business, it could be a church, it could be any kind of organization. They would buy the paint, but the city staff would go out and do all the labor of painting the lines. And so the proposal that is in front of you today is kind of a rough draft of what that could look like. We would open it probably in February, get the applications back by the end of March, and then we would have our public works director review to ensure that whatever the grant application was applying for was feasible in terms of the parking lot, the space, the square footage, etc. And then we would bring those applications to council to review, and you all would be the ones to select the awardees. You might notice there's a couple things missing, like the number of grants to be awarded. That's because that's going to change on kind of a year-to-year basis, and so we would work with Public Works and our other staff to see how much capacity they have and how much time they can put towards this grant in that year. Generally, from my understanding, I heard 3 to 5 was probably a good number that they could manage. And then, yeah, so you have a draft evaluation criteria. There's a very, very draft application form, which just kind of has all the elements that we would be asking applicants for. And then after council would select who we would be awarding this grant to, I would work with Patrick to flesh out a grant agreement so that both the city and the grantee could sign it. So what I would be asking you all to do today is to consider this proposal, to give me any feedback, if there's other things you would like to see in it, if there's things that I've missed, if you have any questions, and then consider approving this.
Do we have the equipment to paint? I mean, updated equipment, because the stuff we've got is not really good, from what I'm seeing. What they've done to streets and stuff, that equipment needs to be replaced. Is this gonna be something that we can update our equipment through a grant type deal?
So at this point, I think we'd be using the existing equipment until we get a replacement. And this could be something that the grant is part of that, to help us replace this equipment. The equipment we have is satisfactory, but just like everything else, over time, it's gonna be needed to be replaced. So for the most part, they're on their own parking lot, their own space, and so they can do what they want in their own parking lot that they own. But if it's city property, what we would encourage them to do is paint over what's already existing, but also to check with us first before doing anything. But in this particular situation, we would be doing the painting, and they would pay for the paint. That's city-owned, and by all means, if they want to paint their own lines, we would support them and help them. They just need to let us know. So, yep.
So just real quick, I'd like to pipe in and say what I love about this, Elizabeth, and thank you for your hard work on it, is I love the idea of us being able to recognize what tools and resources we maybe have that we can help to meet this council's, some of our priorities of, beautifying the community, at the same time as providing for, an ability for the community to work together with us to meet those goals. And, maybe we wouldn't be able to have the finances to purchase the paint, but and vice versa. I just think I love that kind of collaboration. So thank you for the ideas on this. I appreciate it. Council, looks like what we need from us is just a, hey, do we like this? Is this something we want to move forward for? Do we have some support with it, even though there's some details yet to be added? So if you wanted to give a head nod or a vigorous shake to Elizabeth, that would be great. I don't think so. It's not a business item. Actually, it's kind of discussion at this point. Is this something that we like? And so don't necessarily need a motion.
Well,
I understand painting, but you have city paint and something roads and holes.
So I can answer that question for you, Debbie. It's obviously beautification of our community is all related, but slightly unrelated to this, just in that, and I don't know if you recall, in our last council meeting, we asked for a survey of the streets and a repair and replacement plan. So hopefully we can do that. Once you have those plans in place, I'll just say that as this is somebody that I love writing grants. So I can tell you that once you have all that plan in place, it is much, much easier to apply for and receive grants, because they're looking for, what they want to know is on those grants is, are you ready to break ground? Are you ready to move forward right now? And if we have that information in place when the grants come open, we can apply for them. So that's a really great question.
Yes, Public Works. And there's also some parks employees that have done this in the past, so they might help out with it. Yes, that's correct. Correct. Yep.
Any further questions, or how do we feel about this, council? Something you'd like them to move forward with? Thank you so much for your hard work on it, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
All right, we are ready for item 4F, city personal insurance presentation.
We do have a guest speaker.
31.88% increase, KMIT come in at a 25.11%. KMIT does have another policy that we can set our plan underneath, and it come in at a 19.75%. Now, the recommendation, what I am looking at is to do the KMIT at the 19.75% increase. And what you currently have in reserves, you have a little over 25,000 that we've been able to build up in that bank account that we opened on the savings by doing the 2 cards. So with doing that, then we can take that KMIT at the 19.75% on the umbrella policy, use part of that reserves, and we can do an overall 15% increase that would get you within budget by going to KMIT and then using what reserves we built up. The one problem with going with the KMIT plan is that it runs on calendar year. So right now, your plan renews December 1. Benefits with KMIT run on a calendar year, January through December. So in order to get on the KMIT at the 19%, instead of going with the level funded at that 31.88%, is that we have to get through December. And how do we get through December to get on the calendar year with KMIT? Because you're going to have about 35,000, not quite 35,000 in savings and just premium by going to the KMIT from the Blue Cross level funded. The network stays the same, the formularies stay the same, it's just a different association going to. So with doing that and having employee meetings, what I've had some other municipalities do to get from a plan year to a calendar year is they either made the employees whole, which we haven't built up enough reserves yet to say anybody that meets their deductible and coinsurance in December, that you'll make them whole by carrying it over into January. And then we've had some municipalities just tell them at the employee meetings, if you have anything scheduled or if you have anything that comes up where you meet your deductible and coinsurance in December, it starts over again in January. So it's us giving that employee education to get through December to get you on that January renewal. Does that make sense? I know insurance can be, especially health insurance today, can be so complicated. And that's what we do on the backside for you, is to go out and look and say, where can we save you money that you can still keep that benefit for that employee? And the options that I put on here that came in with the savings and moving to a calendar year is going to be to where you can use that 15% budgeted on the increase with utilizing reserves. Now you can take the 38% increase on the level funded plan and stay on that plan year, but even at that savings, we could still cover the employees' office visits, but just anything that amounts to that $3,000 out of pocket that they have, if they've got something scheduled, again, it's just back to employee education. Questions so far?
Sorry, I have a
No.
quick question, and this may be a Patrick question, so I'm not sure which, but what is so if I'm understanding you correctly, if we were to switch to the KMIT plan, they would be completely uninsured during the month of December?
No, they would have coverage. There would
Okay.
still be coverage, but we would have to renew just for the December.
Okay.
So they would still have coverage, but if they met any of their out-of-pocket, it does not carry
That's
over to
what's starting.
January.
Okay.
So you're not going without coverage. There is
Okay.
coverage, but anything met would start over again. Your out-of-pocket starts over again January 1. So on your current policy, it ends November 30th and would renew December 1st to run 12 months. But now there's still coverage for the employees, but if they meet any of their out-of-pocket, it starts over again January 1st.
Okay, great. Never mind, Patrick. I don't
Yeah.
have a legal liability question.
No. So just trying to get on that calendar year of benefits with that savings with KMIT. Now, KMIT is an association for 2025. They had a guarantee that they would not go over a 15% increase. Last year, they had a little over a 9% increase. This year, they had a 10.7% increase. They did set the regulations for 2026 that is guaranteed not to go over a 20%. So, and anywhere up to that 20%. But you're not going to get, I think the worst renewal I'm going to deliver this year is an 80% increase. So, and we found a different platform for them to go on too. But that's what we do behind the scenes, is what can we find that best fits their savings to the city, but yet still give that employee that benefit.
So during December, the person has already met what the requirement is for out of pocket,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a major medical event happen,
Mm-hmm.
during December, the insurance company will continue to pay the bills that are required for that for the month of December, and then it'll start all over again.
Yes, so what happens is December 1st, the employees have that $3,000 out of pocket. So if I come in December 15th, had a $10,000 claim, I'm going to have that $3,000 out of pocket on that claim. It's still covered by insurance for covered in-network expenses, but then come January 1, I'm going to have another $3,000 that I have to meet. So
If they've already met that 3,000, say in October or November, then December is totally covered.
then December, it always starts over December 1st, because your plan renews December 1st. So if they've met it all as of the end of November 30th, it starts over again December 1. But now we need to move that December 1 date to have these savings to a January 1st. So and that's where, again, the employee education comes in, where we do the open enrollment meetings. If you have anything elective that you have scheduled in December, reschedule it for January, for the calendar year of 2026.
I really don't like the person to get executive in November, December, and January.
Yes,
They just had terrible luck in these places.
yes. And we would have a report, and again, on the employee education, but, getting it, but no matter what, everybody would start over again December 1st. So we would just need to find out with that, taking that savings with the KMIT plan and getting on a calendar year, getting through the month of December to get everything on a January renewal. And you, on the sheet here, it shows you the savings. We have 13 single, 4 employee and spouse, 2 employee and children, and 8 families. On the renewal, the annualized premium is $373,997. Under the KMIT plan, it's $339,590, a difference of $34,407 in premium. So that's the medical. So then we look at any other questions so far on the medical. I know that's a lot of information to take in. I tried to summarize it as best I could on this one sheet. The next one would be dental, and that's what Bailey has up there. On the dental plan, you currently have Delta Dental. Delta Dental already runs calendar year, so we're in luck there. But where that is on Delta Dental, you have a maximum of benefit of $3,000. So once you reach that $3,000 for that 12-month period, then there's no more payment for any dental plan. The renewal on the dental came in at 2.35%, but we went out to Blue Cross and Blue Shield to get a quote from them. They do have a plan where Delta Dental has a $3,000 maximum. They have a plan that's unlimited. So there isn't that $3,000 max. Blue Cross and Blue Shield is the only carrier with the unlimited dental. The problem is that all of it, your preventive is covered at 100%. Currently, your basic is covered at 80%. With Blue Cross, it would be 50%, but you don't have that $3,000 cap because it's unlimited. The orthodontic benefit on there, you have orthodontia on both of them. Right now, Delta Dental is 50% to $1,000, lifetime maximum. Blue Cross and Blue Shield covers $1,500 over a 3-year period. At the end of the 3-year period, the orthodontist submits the next plan of treatment for any dependents under 21, and they can regain another 1,500. That plan came in at 7.02% under current. So the recommendation would, because of that unlimited benefit with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, is to move to Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Now, I did get confirmation from Blue Cross and Blue Shield that they would do a 13-month contract. So it doesn't start December 1 and then have to start over in January. So they would write a 13-month contract to get it on the calendar year with the KMIT plan. And then the vision, on the vision, we quoted, currently you have superior vision. We went out and looked at Vision Care Direct and at VSP, and to the coverage that you currently have with superior vision, there's no increase. It stays the same on it. The other carriers, Vision Care Direct and VSP, came in higher on premium. It's a voluntary benefit, so it's just what the employees do. They pay 100% of the premium on a pre-tax basis. Recommendation would be stay where you're currently at on the superior vision. Are there specific eye doctors that you have to go to that will accept this insurance? Yes, each carrier, yes. Has their own group. Mm-hmm. Or whatever. Mm-hmm. They may take the insurance, but they won't cover everything with this insurance. Right, so whether it's Superior Vision, Vision Care Direct, or VSP, each one has their own designated network. Some of the optometrists belong to all three. There are out-of-network benefits that's covered, that you can go there. You just don't get the added benefit by going to an in-network optometrist. They can either contact our office, and we can do that. We usually put a directory in the open enrollment packets that each of the employee gets, usually within a 100-mile radius of that, so that they know, along with the link to the website, that they can look at physicians, but they are the optometrists, but they can contact our office at any time, and we can give them guidance. And then the life insurance, we did get a reduction on the life insurance. We had brought another carrier in that came in less than the Blue Cross and Blue Shield advance, so we had a 0.04% decrease. It's not a whole lot, but we'll take anything we can get, which amounted to a little over $300 a year. It's a $25,000 policy that the city pays for with accidental death and dismemberment. So recommendation would be to renew with Advanced Life on the decrease. And then you do carry MASA on each one of the employees. It's 100% paid for. The MASA covers ground and air ambulance, except where insurance leaves off all over the United States and Canada. The cost is only $3 for a single and $6.50 for a family. So the city does pay the coverage for the MASA, and there's no increase in those rates. The huge one is the medical. So you would get a decrease on the dental, no increase on the vision, no increase on the MASA, and a decrease on the life insurance. So it's just a matter of, on the medical, which direction the council feels like they want to go. And we would be there, the open enrollment meetings, we always do folders, have individualized folders, visit with everyone, and then have that education. If you decide to go with the KMIT January 1 with that savings, that we would educate the employees on their out-of-pocket for the month of December, that it will start over again in January. Questions?
Right, do you have meetings with the employees to see where they feel about any of this, or is that just taken care of by staff and council?
We're just learning about this now, so we haven't had a chance to really educate them and get to know what their feelings are, but that's something that we're going to be working on rather soon. Yes.
Yes, it will be. We talked about this at a department head meeting, and I let them know the rates were going up and that we were looking at alternatives, which they're bad. So, I'm just being honest, it's not good. So, then I asked if she could come present to show you where we're at, and then we can go back and talk again, and then bring this before you November 17th. You guys can decide.
And then I can be back on the 17th too and answer any other questions or answer any questions between now and then. The KMET, we just found out recently after we had first met the first time. We were waiting to find out if there was acceptance, and there was. So then we put all of this information together to get it to everyone.
Council, do you have any further questions for Julie?
When I was at conference, I met with the gentleman from KMET, and he's reached out with some other information as well. Talked to some of the other cities that use it, and I've heard a lot of really good things. So.
KMET's a good association, and we have a lot of clients that have the underlying Freedom Choice Plan with KMET.
Thank you so very much for your time, Julie. We appreciate it, and I'm sure Bailey will let you know if we would need you to be back at the next meeting.
All right, sounds great. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
We are ready for discussion item 4G, the transient guest tax allocation.
So to kick this off, this is a guest tax that we receive after all the hotels gather this tax that goes to the state, gets distributed to the city and to the county. We had been receiving this on a regular basis and been sharing it, or more so providing it to the Chamber of Commerce for their activities. So this is a discussion about what do we want to do with this, continue to go this direction or go a different direction. I've also been in contact with the Chamber about using our front office. They've gone back and forth, but as of late, they want to use our front office, which I totally support. I think it's a great idea, and they'd be using some of our assets. But the big question is, how do we want to manage this tax that we do get?
That's a great idea, but yeah. I'll jump in, and I'm very, very opinionated about this. You won't be able to tell, but so I want to be clear about that. I have a very strong opinion about this. So the transient guest tax dollars goes to the county, and what that is, they also call it a bed tax. So any like Airbnb, hotels, things like that, that's where that money comes from, and it's a special tax above and beyond. And the state sends that to the county, and then what was determined when we started getting the transient guest tax dollars is that the county itself, for the tourism department, which falls under economic development, receives 50% of that, and then the final 50% of that is split 2/3 to Lyons and 1/3 to Sterling. The reason why it gets split up like that, no other communities get those funds, is because we're the two communities that have hotels. We have more beds than they do, therefore the 2/3 and the 1/3. So when a former administrator ago, at the time when it was decided what they were doing with these funds, was sitting as the president on the Chamber of Commerce and said, hey, we should send this money to the Chamber of Commerce. Personally, I think that's a conflict of interest, and it never should have happened in the first place. But then in addition to that, we have a statutory obligation to the state to be accountable to those funds, or we could lose the opportunity to even receive them at all. And not once since the Chamber of Commerce has had those funds have they ever been accounted to us appropriately what was happening with them, so that we could be accountable to the state. So we're in a situation where at the very least, if we continue participating in distributing that to the Chamber of Commerce so that they can use it for, it's only legally allowed to be used for tourism and conventions. And there is a definition under the state statute for what tourism and convention are. So at the very least, if we continue giving it to the Chamber of Commerce, I think that we need to hold their feet to the fire and make sure that they are absolutely, positively, 100% accountable to it. But my personal opinion is that we have a lot of opportunities for growth and development in our community. We have staff on hand that have expertise and knowledge in writing other grants that we could use, for example, match dollars for, that could bring people into our community through tourism and convention. And so I think that the best opportunity for us as a community and the most effective use of these funds is to allow our professional staff to be able to have the opportunity to use those funds that can only be used for that thing, so which we wouldn't normally be spending money on because it kind of falls below the opportunity line for what we need to be spending our budget funds on. So that's my very strong opinion. Happy to answer any questions, and if you have them.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. So for each year that the Chamber of Commerce has received this money, we have no accountability for what that money was spent on?
I think that probably answers our question. I don't think we need to provide any more money.
And I think, to be clear, there was an MOU with the Chamber of Commerce. The last MOU that was signed was, I believe, in 2020. There is not a current MOU, so there's no legal challenge with not giving it to them any longer.
Mayor, I do have a question. Is it required to spend the whole money that year? Or that's what I thought. So we can hold it over for other projects that would support tourism and, yeah, awesome.
I personally have not requested that. It was requested from the City of Lyons last year at least one point in time during the year, and prior to that had been requested by the county EDC while I was serving on the tourism board, so I was fully aware and had access to the copies of the letters she sent. I don't know who she sent it to. She sent it to the Chamber of Commerce, whoever would have been in charge at the time.
Maybe that's where this marquee sign could go to.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. No, we don't need a motion. I don't believe it right now. I suggested that we bring it for discussion and make a determination ultimately after. But I apologize. I monopolized that conversation. That's a great idea. Any other discussion or questions?
So will this fund be even more than 13,000?
That is paid out quarterly, and it is different depending on how many people have stayed in the hotel during that period of time.
Do we have any idea how many bed and breakfasts we have in town?
I don't, but we can find out for you.
Questions or discussion, council? All right, seeing none, we're ready for item 4H, the budget update.
I was gonna table that until I could talk to our auditors and then come back.
Yes, ma'am. Patrick, do we need a formal motion for tabling from the council? Thank you, Bailey. Alrighty, so we are ready for item 5. We do have 3 executive executive sessions, and council, there is, in your packet, on the last page, the recommended, language for the motion. Starting with 5A, please.
Can anybody make that motion? I move for the governing body to recess into executive session with the city administrator, assistant city administrator, and city attorney present. The subject matter to be discussed will be legal matters protected by attorney-client privilege, and the justification for the use of the executive session is to consult with the city attorney regarding legal matters protected by attorney-client privilege as allowed by KSA 75-4319B2, and for the meeting to resume an open session in 15 minutes at 7:25.
I have a motion by Angela Evans with a second by Mary Kendrick for the governing body to recess into executive session with the city administrator, assistant city administrator, and city attorney present. The subject matter to be discussed will be legal matters protected by attorney-client privilege, and the justification for the use of executive session is to consult with the city attorney regarding legal matters protected by attorney-client privilege as allowed by KSA 75-4319B2, and for the meeting to resume an open session in 15 minutes at 7:25 p.m. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Motion carries.
personal note for the city employee. Yep, you're welcome to. Yeah, and this one can stay the same. So. All right, it is 7:25, and we are back in regular session. I would entertain a motion for item 5B.
I move for the governing body to recess into executive session with the city clerk and city attorney present. The subject matter to be discussed will be the performance of a city employee, and the justification of the use of executive session is to discuss personal matters of non-elected personnel with the privacy as allowed by KSA 754319B1, and for the meeting to resume an open session in 15 minutes at 7:40.
I have a motion by Angela Evans with a second by Mary Kendrick for the governing body to recess into executive session with the city clerk and city attorney present. The subject matter to be discussed will be the performance of a city employee, and the justification for the use of executive session is to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel with privacy as allowed by KSA 75-4319B1, and for the meeting to resume an open session in 15 minutes at 7:40 p.m. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Motion carries.
is. That would be nice. 7:40, and probably Bailey did that actually, and we are back in regular session. We're ready for business item 5C.
I move to the governing body to recess into executive session with the city attorney present. The subject matter to be discussed will be the justification.
All good.
The subject matter to be discussed will be the regular evaluation of the city administrator and the justification for the use of executive session to discuss personnel matters of unelected personnel, privacy of
I have a motion by Jim Cedino with a second by Angela Evans for the governing body to recess into executive session with the city attorney present. The subject matter to be discussed will be the regular evaluation of the city administrator, and the justification for the use of the executive session is to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel with privacy as allowed by KSA 75-4319B1, and for the meeting to resume an open session in 25 minutes at 8:06 p.m. All of those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Motion carries. 8:06, and we are back in our regular session. Hold on, just read the same one again. Cedino with a second by Mary Kendrick. For the governing body to recess into executive session with the city attorney present, the subject matter to be discussed will be the regular evaluation of the city administrator, and the justification for the use of executive session is to discuss personnel matters of a non-elected personnel with privacy as allowed by KSA 75-4319B1, and for the meeting to resume an open session in 25 minutes at 8:30 p.m. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Thank you, council. Motion carries. We are back in our scheduled, regular, oh my goodness. I'm sorry, you said 8:30, my bad. We are not back. We are temporarily recessed. If anybody needs to use the facilities, please. It is 8:30, and we are reconvened into our regular meeting. I believe all that's left, council, is we have our next regularly scheduled meeting is Monday, November 17th, right here at 6 p.m. Is there any further communication for the good of the group? Seeing none, I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
Oh, Lord. I second it.
You got left out.
I have a motion by Debbie Metzger with a second by Mary Kendrick to adjourn. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. It is 8:30 and 40 seconds.